This is the great and powerful Eric Harland, one of the best drummers of his generation. I like this clip for one reason. See how Eric's playing an amazing solo? Forget that for 1 second. Instead, look at Eric's expressions and body language. He's having fun. He's in the moment. He's not overthinking, or even thinking at all. He's just making music. By contrast, think of the last time you were nervous, or a gig wasn't going well. What's that like for us? You're overthinking, right? You're worried about difficult parts of the music coming up. You're worried about what people think. You're stupid. You can't even play. Eric Harland wouldn't do that. Tommy Crane wouldn't do that. Your time sucks. Everybody knows you suck. Why don't you even keep the time right? You call that a fill? David Cola's practicing more than you. Well, what if you could stop overthinking and just make music? I'm not perfect, and I still get nervous sometimes, but I've come a long way when it comes to not thinking too much when I play. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what's worked for me when it comes to getting out of my head. But first, let's kick that channel theme. Let's start with what drumming should feel like. When I was really young, I'd play along with records, and pretty regularly I'd just lose myself in the music. First, it was The Police. Then, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Still later, jazz. Then I started studying drums formally and playing with people, and a lot of that went away. Suddenly, I was worried about catching figures in music and not coming in wrong. I started to become aware of all the ways in which I could sound bad. It was only the tip of the iceberg, but I started to get self-conscious. Finally, I became aware of the possibility of screwing up in front of other people. But my point is, that first instinct is correct. Playing drums should feel like those first gleeful days playing along with records when you were young. We had it right at the beginning. So, how do we get that back? First elephant in the room. I usually come on this channel and tell you you need to be focused more on your deficiencies. I often give the example of the drummer who's gleefully unaware he's playing with a crappy touch, or not together with himself, or out of time, as the guy you don't want to be.
You really gotta watch where you're going.
I tell the story of how I didn't start getting better until I locked myself in my office with video footage of me playing and forced myself to scrutinize and agonize over every tiny detail on a regular basis. I routinely tell my viewers that there's a whole unseen world of ways we might sound bad and not even know it. And it's our job to go digging and to root out every last weakness so that we're finally hearing ourselves in high resolution, so that we can start to triage some of those weaknesses. So let's draw a big contrast. Yes, you absolutely should be doing all that hard stuff to get better at the drums. All that hard work. But that's for the practice room. On stage, you want to feel like you did when you first had fun playing with a record. Like Eric does. And to do that, the first thing we're going to do is this anti-exercise. We're going to practice not caring how we sound. Principle 1. Playing without self-editing. Goal. Learn to recognize when you're overthinking. Here's the drill. Play for as long as you can without self-criticism. Start playing something you're really comfortable with. No metronome, not even a beat necessarily. I'm just going to play simply. You're going to play and take note of when any of these thoughts comes into your head. I just made a mistake. That didn't sound good. I should be thinking of better ideas. I wonder what XYZ person would think of this. Whenever a thought like that enters your head, you're going to stop, acknowledge you caught yourself self-editing, and start again. In 98% of my other exercises, the goal is to get as close to perfection as possible. Here, it's being okay with imperfection. To make this even more interesting, now try pushing yourself to take a little risk or get outside your comfort zone. Add a little wabi-sabi. Try to take off the tie, metaphorically speaking. and let yourself be flawed and be okay with it. That's it. That's the self-consciousness drill. If you're in a stage where you're practicing a lot of self-critique, again, mostly a good thing, try ending every practice session with 10 minutes of this. If you're already gleefully non-self-aware and feel like everything you play is awesome, still do this drill. But also record yourself and dig in a bunch. Sometimes the directions to your destination depend on your starting point. Principle 2. Having positive avatars. Here's the problem with Eric Harland as an example. It's easy to think we have to sound like him in order to have as much fun as he does. Throughout music school and the years beyond, when I would play difficult music, or play in front of larger than average crowds, or sit in for the first time on a jam session, I'd also think, once I get good, then I can enjoy playing again. Or when I was playing, I'd only enjoy it when it felt like I was playing really well, which, among other things, meant that I was too focused on me and not focused enough on the musicians around me. Part of the problem? All the people I saw losing themselves in the music and not getting caught up in thought were mostly super technical players. I needed different avatars. This is Moon Hooch. I've been criticized in the past for showing instances where they weren't playing cleanly. So let's show them playing cleanly. Okay, they can play cleanly, but mainly these guys f***ing go for it. Another drummer who can play technically and cleanly when he wants to, but who isn't afraid to go for it in service of the music, is Dave King, whose YouTube channel I sorely miss. The last time I saw Dave play live was with Happy Apple at Lawrence University, and the thing that came through was their total commitment to music. All night, college jazz combos had been playing, with understandable attention to detail, trying to make sure they were swinging, hitting all the changes, etc. Then Happy Apple played, and brought the zero f**ks level from 2 up to 10. They still nailed the tune, but they did so in an intentionally reckless abandon sort of way. It's a spirit Dave brought to the Bad Plus. Finally, there's Tar Baby. A trio consisting of Eric Revis, pianist Orrin Evans, and one of my favorite jazz drummers of all time, Nasheet Waits. These guys would not sound like this if they were stuck in their heads. All of which is to say, it's important to have role models who just go for it and get to the zone Eric's in without getting there as technically as he does. Often the audience isn't going to care about the technique. They just want to feel the emotion. If you're self-conscious on stage, it's a drag. If you're having fun, even if it's not technically perfect, it's a lot more fun to watch. Principle 3. Red light training. Of course, it's one thing to practice playing without self-consciousness in the shed, and quite another to do it on the gig. Sure, we sometimes self-critique even when nobody's watching, but a lot of us will have no problems losing ourselves in the music in the practice room. It's when people are watching that we get self-conscious. Here, I'm going to touch on something I go into way more detail about, and even have weekly challenges on, in my course that addresses a lot of this performance psychology stuff, the performance course. But I'll give you the gist. It's called red light training. Here's the crux. If you're lucky enough to have 4 gigs a week, you get to practice playing in front of people all the time. You're golden. As long as you feel comfortable playing in front of them, no extra practice required. Now, start recording yourself and scrutinizing it to work on your playing. The rest of us, particularly beginners, aren't going to have that many gigs. So how are we supposed to practice playing in front of people? Red light training. Luckily, the internet and our smartphones give us a way to simulate playing in front of others. Single take drum video, good or garbage, I have to post. Actually, I hope it's garbage. I hope this is the worst I've ever seen. Ha ha! Great start! That's red light training. If you've never recorded yourself and put it on Instagram, and you want to simulate playing under more self-conscious conditions, now's the time. If it's your first time, take as many takes as you want, but you have to post something at the end of it. If you've been doing it a while, try to commit to posting your first take of whatever you film. This will make it more real. In a live situation, you obviously can't do multiple takes. So this is a decent simulation. What you're seeing now is a live first take I posted on Instagram. Oh, and try to look like you're having fun. Remember, pros screw up all the time, but they don't let it derail them. As long as the musical energy is fun, crowds won't sweat that stuff. Principle 4, realistic visualization. I go deeper into this in my performance course, but let's come back to Eric. What if Eric looks like this, and we look like this? Part of the thing that made me self-conscious in the past, ironically, was picturing myself killing it on the bandstand. I go into greater detail about this in my performance course, but I'd be waiting backstage to go on, or waiting to get called at a jam session, and I'd gradually get the sense that I have to kill. Otherwise, I will have failed. Then what would happen? I'd immediately be in my head once I started to play. The hack? Picture a flawed, realistic version of how the performance might go. Picture messing up technically, but still making music. I'm not going to sound like Eric. But I do have the ability to have fun and engage with people on stage. So I look and sound like this. Instead of this. Was that okay? By lifting that pressure to play like Eric off my shoulders, I'm definitely going to be able to stop thinking way more easily once I'm on stage. But by becoming okay with our suck, aren't we somehow ducking our responsibility as drummers to get better? Only if we go too far in one direction, and it also depends on who's receiving this advice at what time in their career. I know some people for whom humility is never an issue. They're just naturally confident. If you're one of those folks, like maybe you always feel great on stage, but feel like maybe you're in a rut and not getting much better, my advice to you would be more in line with that from my usual videos. Scrutinize recordings of yourself and become more aware of your flaws so you can dig in and fix them. For those folks, there is a danger that they'll never feel any urgency to dig deeper and really fix their flaws. But most of us are on the other side of the spectrum. Too likely to be in our heads. And we're more likely to avoid digging deep and scrutinizing ourselves because it's painful. And to you guys, my people, I say, make sure you keep a balance. Never go so deep into dissecting your own playing that you lose the ability to have fun. And if you do, use some of the principles in this video to help you get back. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and if you caught any of the hints throughout this video, if you'd like to go deeper on this topic, I recommend my course, the Performance Course. We only open it up a few times a year, and if you'd like to get on the wait list to hear about it the next time we're opening it up, and also get 3 completely free videos that I don't share online, I recommend you click the link below the video player and enter your email in on the next page. That's 3 videos that'll make your playing better in the next 3 weeks than it's gotten in the last 6 months. Dudes, it's been real. See you again next week in another lesson of the week. Hey, what's up? Once more into the breach. So we have window speaking. Some of you might wonder what window speaking refers to. And it's the fact that there's a window behind the camera, so I get natural light. Let me back up. But let me back up. Okay.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, but I wasn't.
Am I wrong?